County Football with a NFL Week 5 recap. And we've also got a Monday night football game to look forward to tonight. But kicking things off with the London game from yesterday, the Jacksonville Jaguars were actually able to pull off a pretty nice win against the Buffalo Bills. Final score 25-20. Definitely looked like they were a little bit more comfortable staying there the week. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they even though the Bills were sort of the home team, and it did actually look like they had more Bills fans at the stadium at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Um, Pretty good showing by the Jags, and the Bills looked sort of like they were jet lag or a little bit of sleep. But I'll get to that in a minute. Jags definitely started strong, but faced some challenges with some drops, penalties, and fumbles. Defense really stepped up, forcing 6 punts and limiting the Bills to only 20 points. Trevor Lawrence really showed his prowess on third down, especially connecting on 8 of 9 attempts for 89 yards and a touchdown. I think he connected with CJ, with not CJ Stroud, with what's his name? With Calvin Ridley, like 3 or 4 times just on those third downs, especially. Calvin Ridley ended the game with 7 catches for 122 yards and a touchdown. And Travis Etienne had a really nice day for the Jacksonville Jaguars with 23 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Um, but the Bills were pretty sloppy on offense. They really struggled early with 4 straight punts, and really just difficulty sustaining drives. They woke up a little bit in the second half, but couldn't really fully recover. Not to mention that they had 11 penalties for 90 some yards. So that, or for 109 yards. So that really does not help them either. Some injuries definitely hurt the Bills as well. Von Miller was a little shaken up, and Matt Milano left, and Trey White is out. But this did leave a nice opportunity for AJ Epinesa, who actually had a standout performance on the Bills defense. He recorded 2 sacks and 3 passes defended, and really just led the pass rush that harassed Lawrence throughout the game and ended with 5 sacks and 14 pressures. Josh Allen made some history, getting a rushing touchdown, and I believe is third most quarterback rushing touchdowns, only behind Cam Newton and Steve Young. But also expect guys like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts to climb up on that tier list as well. That pretty much does it for that game. I think I feel comfortable moving on to the Falcons versus the Texans. And this was a nail biter pretty much till the very end. A field goal, Young Wei Koo field goal. I think it was like a 38-yarder with no time remaining. Seals the game for the Falcons. They win 21-19. I was sort of rooting for the Texans. I thought that they were trending in the right direction lately. I really like what CJ Stroud has done over the first 5 weeks of the season, and pretty unbelievable the fact that he still has yet to throw an interception. But this was also probably Desmond Ritter's best game of the season so far. He sort of bounced back, and showcased some precision and surpassed 300 passing yards for the first time this season, and even scored a touchdown himself. His playmaking, and go ahead touchdown really helped set up the Young Wei Koo game-winning field goal, which was a major triumph for Ritter and the Falcons as he led them to another win, and they are now 3-2 Pretty impressive. Definitely better than probably most people expected. And the Falcons' defense definitely deserves some props. They had good pass coverage and disrupted CJ Stroud's rhythm, limiting his accuracy and forcing Houston to settle for field goals. Despite not generating too much pressure, their strategy really pulled off, and they showcased a potential blueprint for future matchups against CJ Stroud. The Texans, despite forcing some turnovers, struggled to convert them into points and had to settle for a lot of field goals. But I think this really goes to their inexperience, and it showed in critical moments, and they missed opportunities in the red zone. Um, the completion to Drake London and a penalty for too many men on the field definitely hurt their chances as well. Desmond Ritter's play action success was pretty impressive, gaining for 139 yards of his 329 passing yards. He recorded a stellar 64% success rate, ranking fourth highest this season among quarterbacks. CJ Stroud has broken records, attempting 186 passes without an interception to start his career, surpassing legends like Dak Prescott and Tom Brady. He is the only quarterback in the Super Bowl era with 0 interceptions in his first 5 starts. Pretty impressive. If you ask me, I'm getting some texts, so please sit tight for a minute as I at least look at it. Also, prepare the next thing. That. Do this and that and this and that and then that and then this. Do 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 ba da da ba ba. All right, moving on to the Detroit Lions versus the Carolina Panthers, and the Lions were able to get a pretty nice butt whooping on the Panthers. They win 42-24. Nice opposite numbers there, 4-2-2-4. But the Lions secure a commanding victory over the Panthers, improving their record to an impressive 4-1. Pretty exciting for Lions fans and Detroit fans. Honestly, they just missed the playoffs last year, and they've really built on a lot. I really like Campbell and this team that he's been building, led by another great performance by Aiden Hutchinson, and the Lions defense has been on fire. Hutchinson had a nice little interception, and it's his 4th career interception, showcasing his incredible skills as he reads coverages and screens and snagged the ball with one hand. Little guy like that, making him definitely. This made him the defensive lineman with the most interceptions in his first 25 career starts since 1940. Hutchinson also added a crucial sack and posted 6 quarterback pressures, putting a lot of pressure on Bryce Young throughout the game. The Lions defense stepped up when it mattered most, forcing back-to-back turnovers that the offense brilliantly converted into points. This was a dominant performance despite missing some key players on both sides of the ball. The Lions really showcased their potential and look like they're a force to be reckoned with in the NFC. Bryce Young's NFL journey is continuing. And he continues to struggle a bit. Has showcased some moments of, some promising moments, but also a lot of challenges. He's definitely got a lot of talent, but there are tough moments, including 2 interceptions. Today, the conditions were right, and Young displayed some good ball placement and composure under pressure, and a strong ability to read the field. But with some fine tuning, hopefully his future is bright. I think ultimately they need some more weapons around him. Booby Miles was not really able to get much going on, and it looks like maybe they should look towards getting Chuba Hubbard some more carries. I know that they just paid Miles Sanders a lot of money, but we will see how that goes. But very interesting to see how the Lions offense goes going forward. David Montgomery has really been the story for the past few weeks and has been getting touchdowns left and right. But didn't see as much Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jahmyr Gibbs. And it would be nice to see them get a little bit more involved. On the plus side, rookie tight end Sam Laporta has been really keeping the momentum rolling and looking like a great tight end when it's really all said and done. I think he's got 377, or I don't know what that's. Never mind. Disregard that. But a pretty nice game for the Lions. Moving on to the Colts versus the Tennessee Titans, and I chose the Colts to lose this one to the Titans, and I was wrong, unfortunately. And I think partially because any game that Garner Minshew comes in for Anthony Richardson, I actually think that they might have a slightly better chance of winning. I like Anthony Richardson a lot as a prospect, but I think just as a rookie, he's going to need to go through the reps and get the experience. And Gardner Minshew is not necessarily a veteran quarterback, but still has more experience than Ant Richardson. But he showcased a lot of his talent, and so did both of them. Really did. And the biggest takeaway from this game is that Anthony Richardson looks like he will be out about a month with an AC joint sprain. So that is quite unfortunate for the Colts. But ultimately, they get the win. Colts win 23-16. In a fun matchup, the Colts secure their win 26-16 against the Tennessee Titans, improving their record to a solid 3-2. Zach Moss shines with Jonathan Taylor back in with his 3-year extension, making headlines. It was actually Zach Moss who stole the show on Sunday. Moss carried the Colts with a phenomenal performance, amassing a 195 yards on the line of scrimmage, including 165 yards and 2 touchdowns on 25 touches. His incredible contribution powered the Colts' ground attack, especially after Anthony Richardson's shoulder injury. They showcased the depth and talent that the Colts roster has. Gardner Minshew is a very reliable backup, as I was saying just a moment ago. He proved his worth and outstanding performance, completing 11 of 14 passes for 144 yards. His composure under pressure and instrumental in the Colts' victory. He demonstrated a lot of value as a backup quarterback. The Colts win in true team form, with lesser-known contributors stepping up when it matters most. The Colts' resilience and collective strength played a crucial role to their success, and clearly looks like they are starting to build a little momentum this season. The Tannehill-Hopkins connection evolves and comes to a little bit more fruition this week. Ryan Tannehill found some stability in his connection with DeAndre Hopkins, who consistently delivered on the field. Hopkins stood out as a primary receiver for the Titans, showcasing his importance in their passing game. Despite some missed opportunities, their connection definitely kept growing and kept the game competitive. Despite facing some challenges, including injuries to key players, the Colts displayed unwavering determination and grit. The limited Titans. They limited the Titans to just one touchdown and stood strong on crucial defensive drives, proving their resilience after a heartbreaking loss to the Rams last week. This victory must feel pretty satisfying. Um, yeah. But I think moving forward, the Colts will get um, Jonathan Taylor involved significantly more, especially now that Anthony Richardson is hurt. But I think that they're still trending in the right direction. I like their resilience and the grit that team's really shown. I like their coach Shane Steichen, the former Eagles offensive coordinator, and I think that that's been actually a pretty big loss to the Eagles. Although I think that they are still adjusting and getting better week by week under their new coordinators. But we'll get to the Eagles when I get to them in a moment. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets, and these teams now have opposite records. The Miami Dolphins moved to 4-1, and the New York Giants are now 1-4. I might have said the Jets a minute ago, so I apologize for that. Dolphins win 31-16 over the Giants. Big news and headlines for this game is that quarterback of the Giants, Daniel Jones, exit with a neck injury, and Dolphins really continue to light up the scoreboard and put up points. Tua Tagovailoa had a roller coaster game, it seemed like. Well, he threw for 308 yards and 2 touchdowns. 2 interceptions gave the Giants some opportunities. The first pick occurred in a crucial moment, turning what could have been a 14-18 lead into much more than a 4-point advantage for the Dolphins. The Giants' double coverage on Tyreek Hill forced Tua to hold the ball a little too long, leading to one of those interceptions. In the third quarter, another interception gifted the Giants a field goal. Despite these hiccups, Tua's performance was noteworthy, although it might not boost his MVP campaign. Although I'd still say that he is a leading candidate, considering the Dolphins are 4-1, and he looks like the best player on one of the best teams in the AFC. Dolphins defense stand out. Miami's defense stepped up in a big way, keeping the Giants offense out of the end zone and sacking the Giants quarterback to a staggering 7 times. Zach Sealer, Jerome Baker, Emmanuel Agba, and Andrew Van Ginkel were among the standout performers, showcasing the Dolphins' defensive prowess. Despite losing the turnover battle 3-0, the Dolphins comfortably secure the win thanks to their solid defensive effort. The Giants' offensive line has been struggling and continues to struggle, giving up 7 sacks in week 5. Injuries have taken a toll on the offensive line's depth, leading to a concerning trend. The Dolphins defense capitalized on the situation with pressure, leading to missed opportunities and a missed field goal. The ongoing issue has really hindered the Giants offense, and seems like they really do need to address it if they want to have success going forward. Devin Akine, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I think he corrected everyone saying that it's Acne or Akine. I don't even know. But he showcased his blazing speed again, reaching impressive speeds of like 22 miles an hour on a 76-yard touchdown run, making him one of the fastest ball carriers this season. I think he's posted like 3 of the fastest ball carries this season across the board in the NFL. The Dolphins now have 7 of the fastest speed by ball carriers this season. Pretty incredible to see that he scored 7 touchdowns in his first 4 career games. We'll see if he can keep it up and if the Dolphins can remain as one of the most dominant forces in the AFC. They did lose to the Bills a few weeks ago, but it seems like they have bounced back and are doing just fine. I'm a very big fan of Mike McDaniel, one of my favorite coaches in the league. Just seems like a fun, goofy guy, and real relatable, and fun to root for. Um, so I am rooting for Miami going forward. And now we can move on to the looks like the New Orleans Saints versus the New England Patriots. And I really expected the Patriots to have a nice comeback victory in this one after an embarrassing loss last week. They have an equally embarrassing, if not even more embarrassing, loss this week to the New Orleans Saints. Saints win this one 34-0. I think this is Belichick's worst loss ever. Belichick is looking to start over after the second straight blowout loss. Da, 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 da. But the Saints basically deliver a stunning 34-0 shutout against the New England Patriots, showcasing their defense in Foxborough. Let's break it down. The Saints defense looked like they were, I guess, putting on a masterclass in Foxborough. Their defense really dominated and smelled the opportunity against a struggling Patriots offense, and they really seized the opportunity. The defense in front controlled the game, collapsing the pocket and stifling the run game. They generated Carl Granderson was really a nice force, generated a sack, 3 tackles, and 2 quarterback hits. The Saints forced 3 turnovers and allowed 8 touchdown, 8, yeah. The Saints the Saints forced 3 turnovers and just allowed 8 first downs, only 1 in the second half on 14 Patriots possessions, and held the New England Patriots to a mere 156 yards. When the Saints defense plays like this, they are one of the best defenses in the league. It will be interesting to see if they can keep things up. Is this the rock bottom for New England? The Patriots are facing some tough questions as they continue to struggle. Mac Jones has been benched for the second consecutive week in a very lopsided loss. His performance has left very little to be desired with multiple interceptions and poor decision making. The offensive woes mirrored last year's struggles with 3 points scored in just the last 2 games and a touchdown drought since week 3. The defense and special teams also had a rough day. It is an all-around disappointing performance for Bill Belichick's team. Hopefully they can turn things around, or maybe they are just tanking for a quarterback like Caleb Williams going forward. Saints offense finds some life. The New Orleans offense displayed some more diversity and efficiency thanks to offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael's adjustments. The Saints implemented pre-snap motion and scored 2 second-quarter touchdowns to take control of the game. Despite a shoulder injury, Derek Carr showed some improved velocity and made some efficient field stretching passes. Alvin Kamara also had a nice game, contributed 97 yards and boosting the offense with some explosive plays. Kamara's presence is definitely making a nice difference. Derek Carr excelled in zone coverage, completing 15 of 20 passes for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Patriots' 34-0 loss marked their largest shutout defeat at home in franchise history. It was a tough day in New England and not one that they want to remember. Definitely some questions around Bill Belichick going forward. I know that he is arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time in any sport, not just football. But it's really got you scratching your head a little bit when you got performances like these 2 weeks in a row. Um, I mean, if they're tanking for a quarterback, I don't know. I think you at least have to admit or say something a little bit more in the press conferences, because when you're winning championships and you're relaying the same answers over and over, that Marshawn Lynch sort of attitude, and then you're winning games, it's not so bad. But when you're losing games, it sort of leaves a bad taste in most fans' mouths, and they wanna see their teams win, and ultimately, you ain't delivering. So what's happening in New England? We will find out. But anyway, we got one more of the early morning games, and then we can move on to the afternoon games. So, we've got the Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens look like they were just trying to lose this game in many ways when it's all said and done. The Steelers win this one and pull off a, I guess, exciting victory in the end, 17-10. Steelers defense and special teams were really the unsung heroes, making some game-changing plays and turning the tide in their favor. But let's also not forget that Lamar had a lot of great throws, and it just looked like his playmakers had some drops. I think literally I can name at least 4 pass catchers that dropped a ball for the Ravens. But let's start with the Steelers defense and the grit. On the day, the Steelers offense faced some struggles, but the defense stepped up in a big way. A crucial fourth quarter blocked punt and a safety cut the Baltimore lead from 10-5, shifting the momentum. The Steelers cornerback Joey Porter Jr. made a game-saving end zone interception of Lamar Jackson, preventing the Ravens from extending their lead. Pittsburgh Steelers then drove 80 yards for the go-ahead score. TJ Watt made some clutch plays, including recovering a Jackson fumble and sacking him in the on fourth down, sealing a victory. The defense really showcased their resilience and are a formidable group. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson definitely stumbled. The Ravens had numerous opportunities to secure the win, but could not really capitalize. Despite Jackson's strong first half performance, the offense left points off the board throughout the game. After halftime, the Ravens offense struggled, with Jackson turning the ball over twice and facing pressure from the Steelers defense. Jackson's red zone interception was a crucial mistake, and drops also plagued the potential touchdown passes. I think he had a potential touchdown pass to Zay Flowers, who tripped up and fell, to Mark Andrews, who just dropped one. I think OBJ and Rashad Bateman also had drops. Really just a bad performance from the skill players on the Ravens this week. Hopefully they can right their wrongs going forward. Jaylen Warren ignites the offense for the Steelers. The running back proved to be a spark for the Steelers offense when they needed it most. He just had limited touches, but before the fourth quarter, really lifted the Steelers and had a nice contribution and breathed some life into their offense and helped get the go-ahead touchdown. Najee Harris still had more touchdowns or more touches, but Warren showcased his playmaking ability with fewer opportunities. This is what I was saying a couple of weeks ago, and perhaps it may be time to give him more of a prominent role. I do like Najee Harris a lot, and I think that they are a good 1-2 punch, but it seems like they might need to lean in Warren's favor a little bit more, just because he gives them a little bit more spark. He's a little faster and has a little more pass catching ability and a little more juice into the offense. TJ Watt, has now, give me 1 second. Yeah, TJ Watt has now notched an impressive 14 career sacks against the Ravens, making him the second highest sack artist versus the Ravens in history versus former Steeler James Harrison. And that is pretty good company to be in with the same conversation with. So, congratulations to TJ Watt, who I would argue is probably a defensive player of the year candidate if the Steelers can continue to dominate like they just did on Sunday. Moving on to the Arizona Cardinals versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And this was a great coming out party for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They needed to get things done, especially after last week where Jamar Chase was pretty much saying that he's always open. Well, he made his point very clear and evident this week as he explodes for 3 touchdowns and over 150 yards. The Cincinnati Bengals make a statement with a dominant win, winning 34-20 over the Arizona Cardinals. Let's break it down with some key stats. Burrow bounces back. The Bengals' vibe checked drastically on Sunday. Thanks to a remarkable return of Joe Burrow, he looked like his former self and looked significantly healthier and more agile than he ever did this season, navigating the pocket efficiently and even scrambling for some positive yardage. His impressive health has definitely been profound impact in the Cincinnati's offense and the success that they had moving the ball almost effortlessly this weekend, accumulating a season high 380 yards. While Burrow's accuracy was not flawless, he was he was a significant improvement from anything that he was any earlier this season. Suddenly, the Bengals look a lot more like the team that we thought that they were, and hopefully they can resurge as a AFC favorite. Chase's record-breaking performance, Joe Burrow's improved health greatly improved and benefited his favorite target, Jamar Chase. This was also in a game without T. Higgins. In a stellar display, Chase set new Bengals records for a single game in receptions with a phenomenal 15 catches for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. His highlight was a 63-yard strike in that ended the half. And without T. Higgins with a cracked rib, Chase's performance was a return to Chase's performance was a return to prominence, and he showcased his star power and the reason why many people drafted him early as a top 5 pick in fantasy drafts. Definitely trying to make you pay some dividends this weekend with 3 touchdowns. So hope you started him because you got to start him every week. Cardinals definitely showed some resilience, though, in the past few games, and this Sunday was no different. They definitely fought hard and secured an interception, which could have turned the tide. However, the margin was just too big for them, and they will struggle to compete against quality opponents like the Bengals. Unfortunately, turnovers proved costly for Josh Dobbs, who threw 2 interceptions. Arizona lost the turnover battle 3-1, but dominated time of possession. Losing James Conner to an injury also complicated matters for the Cardinals. While they fought pretty valiantly, it was definitely another test for them. And yeah. Jamar Chase joins the legendary company of Jerry Rice as the only player since 1950 with multiple games of 10-plus receptions with 190-plus receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. What a handful of stats, but great company to be in the same conversation with. So whenever you're in the the same sentence as Jerry Rice. You must be doing something right. So congratulations to Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the rest of the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like they might have gotten their swagger back. Um, but we will see how they do moving forward if they can build momentum. And now we can move on to the Philadelphia Eagles victory against the Los Angeles Rams in SoFi Stadium. The Philadelphia Eagles are now 5-0, remain undefeated, and the Rams are now 2-3. Eagles win 23-14. Pretty fun game. It looked like it was almost an Eagles home game at SoFi Stadium as they get the victory and remain undefeated. They continue their winning streak with a gutsy, hard-nosed victory against the Rams, their 5th consecutive this season. Let's get down and cooking. Jalen Hurts shines as always. Jalen Hurts was in prominent form and really delivered an impressive performance, probably his best or second best passing performance of the season. He accumulated a whopping 345 total yards, comprising 303 passing yards and 72 on the ground, scoring 2 crucial touchdowns. His dynamic playmaking abilities were on full display, making him a force to be reckoned with. Hurts continues to be a driving force behind the Eagles' success of the brotherly shove. And the Eagles continue to dominate in the trenches. The Eagles' victory was fueled by their dominance in the trenches. They relentlessly wore down the Rams, opening up lanes for 159 rushing yards and effectively neutralizing the Los Angeles Rams pass rush and Aaron Donald. The Eagles' offensive line only allowed 1 sack, and the Eagles' coined brotherly shove showcased their strength and unity. Their bold decision to go for the quarterback sneak and score a touchdown has become confidence of power and seems like it's just an automatic thing for the Eagles this season. And the Eagles' defense also played a crucial role, holding the Rams scoreless in the second half and sacking Matthew Stafford 4 times with nice performances from Jalen Carter and Hassan Reddick. So the Eagles really dominated on both sides of the trenches, which is really how they try to build their team. Cup and Puka Nakua combo definitely still seems to be in full action. Cooper Kupp's return to the Rams added another dimension to their offense, and he quickly made an impact. Matthew Stafford still connected with Kupp on a spectacular 75-yard touchdown drive on their first possession. Rookie sensation Puka Nakua also showcased his skills with a nice toe-dragging touchdown reception in the second quarter. At halftime, Kupp and Nakua combined for 129 yards, 9 catches, and a touchdown. However, the Eagles' defense tightened up in the second half, limiting the duo to 60 combined yards on 6 catches. While it wasn't enough for the Rams' victory, the Kupp and Nakua partnership promises a lot of exciting moments ahead. Looks like Tutu Atwell might be the guy who I guess had the short straw. But for the Philadelphia Eagles, it was a nice breakout game for Dallas Goedert as he finally gets in a rhythm. After a quieter start this season, he contributed significantly, scoring a touchdown and amassing 117 yards on 8 catches. Goddard was a reliable target throughout the game. And provided a nice boost for the Philadelphia Eagles passing attack. A.J. Brown also had a very nice game and surpassed 100 yards receiving for the 3rd consecutive week. The Eagles' offense definitely seems to be building momentum and getting stronger as the season goes on, which is a scary sight for other teams, considering they are 5-0 and only seem to be getting better. Puka Nakua's second quarter touchdown catch was the most improbable reception of his career. And Jalen Hurts leads the NFL in carries and rushing for first downs on third and fourth down situations since 2021-22. Sunday's victory also marked his first game with 40-plus rushing yards since the Super Bowl. Keep scoring, birds. And this is also the second consecutive year that the Eagles have started 5-0, which is the first time that has happened in franchise history. Pretty awesome to see as an Eagles fan, the fact that they are stacking up wins, and you know what, they look gritty and resilient, and the fact that they are getting these tough wins, I'll take it, because their season is definitely gonna get a lot more difficult as it progresses. They've got some tough games against the Bills, the Cowboys, and the 49ers, and the Jets. So we'll see how things go on. I think I said the Chiefs and Bills, but if I forgot them, I apologize. But moving on to the Jets versus the Broncos, and this was a revenge game for Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets offensive coordinator. The former head coach of the Denver Broncos was their coach last year, and Sean Payton, the current coach of the Broncos, was saying that it was one of the worst coaching performances he had ever seen from an organization, and he thought that he could turn things around, but seems to be struggling a little bit with the same roster. So hopefully Sean Payton can get things moving in the right direction moving forward, but the Jets look like they are moving in the right direction and show some resilience and determination after some struggles, and this ultimately is a big win for Nathaniel Hackett over Sean Payton and the Broncos. Breece Hall's heroics definitely emerged. Breece Hall emerged as the hero the Jets needed, especially in the second half after a slow start with only 20 yards on the first 4 drives. Hall ignited the offense with some explosive plays. He displayed some incredible cutting and lateral agility, dispelling any concerns. Dispelling any concerns about his ACL recovery. Hall's standout moment came with a 72-yard touchdown that gave the Jets their first lead, going 15 to 13. In total, he rushed for an impressive 177 yards, adding 17 more on 13 catches. Hall's performance was instrumental for the Jets' victory. Pretty clutch defense on the Jets as well. The Jets defense stepped up when it mattered most, particularly in the second half. They forced Denver into 3 consecutive 3-and-outs, recovered a crucial fumble to start the second half. Quincy Williams' strip sack of Russell Wilson also proved to be a game-sealing moment as Bryce Hall scooped up the ball and returned it for a touchdown. The Jets' defense was lights out, and when it counted, and secured the win for the team. The Broncos offense continues to struggle. Broncos initially showed some promise on offense, securing 3 of their first 4 drives before half time. However, they faltered in the second half with 3-and-outs on 3 consecutive possessions. A crucial fumble also really hurt them. And Russell Wilson needs to really right the tide and the shift. Zach Wilson for the Jets showed some progress. Zach Wilson continued to show improvement as he settled into his role as the Jets starting quarterback this season. Despite a few near-miss plays, he displayed some significant promise. Wilson led the team effectively and made some crucial throws and scrambled effectively as well. The coaching staff definitely seems to be building some confidence with him, despite some mistakes. The team has shown some resilience. The offensive line has shown some promise, and Zach Wilson's pass to Tyler Conklin before an interception was a positive sign for the team's future. Brees Hall's 72-yard touchdown saw him run 62 plus rush yards over expected, and he hit a speed of 21 and a half miles an hour. The victory only snapped the Jets' 3-game losing streak, but also marked Zach Wilson's first win as the starting quarterback since Week 9 of last year, a memorable day for the Jets and their young quarterback. And now we can move on to the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Minnesota Vikings. And unfortunately, it did not appear that Taylor Swift was in the house this week. But the Chiefs are still ultimately able to get the victory 27-20. And this was actually a pretty close game. Not the Chiefs, the Vikings were in it till the very end. And ultimately, the Chiefs were able to have a game-sealing win. Chiefs win in a fun contest. It was a nail-biting crash. Let me sip some water real quick. All right. We're almost done this. We got like 1 or 2 more games anyway. But the Chiefs are victorious over the Vikings in a pretty exciting matchup. The Chiefs emerged triumphant in a nail-biting clash versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is actually the final team, I think, for Pat Mahomes to have a win and get a conquer. I don't know, get all his Infinity Stones. But let's get into it. This was a nice little heroic return for Travis Kelce as he got a little hurt and banged up with a non-contact injury in the first half. It did appear to be potentially serious setback. However, Kelce displayed some incredible resilience and returned into the game after sitting out for a couple series. His performance was very exceptional. Had 5 catches and a touchdown, which seemed to be pretty decisive. Despite some moments of offensive inconsistency, the Chiefs' ability to make key plays with contributions from Justin Watson and Rashee Rice propelled them to victory. Pat Mahomes orchestrating some offensive plays and distributing the ball was very impressive to 10 different targets. While it might not always be the most glamorous, consistency conjures up some magics and puts up some points for the Chiefs. Kirk Cousins was pretty resilient throughout the day, despite facing a relentless barrage of blitzes orchestrated by the Chiefs' defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. Kirk Cousins displayed remarkable poise in the keeping the Vikings competitive. The Cousins went 11 of 22 for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 sacks taken against the blitz. He had a fumble, and Minnesota managed to stay in the contest after a 14-play, 75-yard drive that narrowed the lead in the fourth quarter. However, they were unable to close the gap at the very end. Cousins and the Vikings were given a final opportunity with about a minute to go with no timeouts, but a sack sealed their 4th and 1 score. Sealed their defeat. Justin Jefferson's challenge, the Chiefs devised a masterful strategy to limit Justin Jefferson's impact throughout the game. L'Jarius Sneed, a physical cornerback, showcased against Jefferson on 19 routes, allowing only one catch for 10 yards. So might be a lockdown corner to look forward to going forward. I didn't know too much about him. To make matters worse for Minnesota, Jefferson exited the game early in the fourth quarter due to a hamstring injury and did not return. The extent of the injury remains uncertain, but does not look very good. Still very early to determine the severity, but could hurt the Vikings offense going forward, despite a nice performance by rookie Jordan Addison, who I like very much. The Chiefs' aggressive blitzing strategy paid off with a blitzing rate of 48% on dropbacks against the Vikings, their highest since 2022. With this, the Week 5 victory against Minnesota, Andy Reid has achieved a historic milestone, surpassing Tom Landry for fourth most wins of all time with 251 among NFL head coaches. Pretty fun matchup. And that pretty much wraps up that game. Now we can move on to the 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys, which was Sunday Night Football. And who doesn't love watching Sunday Night Football when the San Francisco 49ers are just beating up on the Dallas Cowboys? I am a notable Eagles fan, if you did not notice before. Love the team, have worked for the team, currently work for the team in a part-time role. And it's always nice to see when the Cowboys lose, almost as good as seeing the Eagles win. And Brock Purdy remains basically undefeated in his career. I think he's now 10-0 in regular season starts and just 0-1 in the playoffs, and he got knocked out of that game. So who even knows what the story may have been? I mean, I think the Eagles still would have ate his lunch as they were doing throughout that game, but that was the NFC Championship last year, and we're moving on to what's happening now. And definitely seems like a pretty humbling game for Dak Prescott, a little bit of a reality check for the Dallas Cowboys. Brock Purdy definitely deserves a little bit more respect as the 49ers get the victory. 49ers deliver a stunning blowout against the Dallas Cowboys. Let's dive into some of the standout performances. This continues to be the rise of Brock Purdy as a potential top-tier quarterback. And it's really starting to discard the plunky underdog narrative surrounding Brock Purdy. He really seems to be a comfortable starter in this league, and it's more than just a feel-good story. He really seems to be establishing himself as an elite NFL quarterback, leading the one of the NFC's heavyweight teams, and the 49ers are arguably one of the best teams in all of football. The 49ers and Philadelphia Eagles are the only teams to remain undefeated. And this is against what should be a formidable Dallas defense. Purdy displayed some really nice poise and precision in the pocket. His performance really should leave the football world in awe. He's completed 17 of 24 passes for 252 yards, tossing for 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, earning an outstanding 144.4 passer rating with less than 4 quarters in action. Supported by a phenomenal performance by the offensive line, Purdy rose to the occasion in what is arguably the most significant game of the 2023 NFL season so far, with a perfect 10-0 record to start his career in the regular season. He has joined a select group of quarterbacks to achieve this feat since 1950. Purdy is undoubtedly surrounded by stellar supporting cast around him, but is rapidly becoming a star himself. Dak Prescott's primetime struggles have really continued, while the Cowboys as a whole have faced some challenging night. It was particularly a tough outing for Dak Prescott in a pivotal season for the Cowboys. Quarterback, he struggled in primetime matchups, attempted and really getting his receivers open, and we will see if poor decision making and turnover, if he can avoid poor decision making and turnovers going forward. But he has tied the league in interceptions for most interceptions with 15 last season, and has hit a new record. I don't know what I'm really reading there. Anyway, Dak Prescott has been struggling significantly, and it will be interesting to see if they move on to see what Trey Lance can do in this offense. Fred Warner's defensive brilliance definitely shines in this matchup. In a hard-fought contest, numerous defensive standouts emerged, but Fred Warner definitely shined the brightest. When the game hung in balance during the first half, Warner showcased some exceptional skills, with the Niners holding a slim 7-0 lead late in the first quarter. Warner executed a perfect punch out to force a Tony Pollard fumble. The all-pro linebacker continued to make significant impact, recording a crucial sack on Dak Prescott during the ensuing drive. By the end of the evening, Warner had amassed 8 tackles, a sack, an interception, a forced fumble, leading a magnificent defensive display for the 49ers. Dak Prescott faced pressure on 37% of his dropbacks, and when he was not pressured, completed 9 of 17 for 77 yards and no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So it seemed like he was struggling, whether he was pressured or not. Christian McCaffrey's fumble to start the second quarter ended a remarkable 995 consecutive carries without a lost fumble, the longest active streak in the NFL. McCaffrey rebounded later in the quarter with a 1-yard touchdown, becoming the 15th player in NFL history to score a touchdown in 14 consecutive games. It was a pretty exciting game for George Kittle, as well as he had 3 touchdowns. Definitely his breakout performance of the season, as he had not really had anything to. I don't think he had a touchdown leading up to this game. Let's see. George Kittle had 3 catches for 67 yards and 3 touchdowns on 4 targets. So a very nice performance for the Iowa State tight end, with the Iowa State quarterback and the Iowa tight end. The fun combo. And now I guess we will just do a mini preview for the Green Bay Packers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And let's see if there's any notable news or anything going into this game. Looks like Devontae Adams is expected to play in this one. And Aaron Jones is inactive. So if you've got last-minute fantasy lineup adjustments to do, maybe make sure that Adams is in your lineups. And if you need a replacement for Aaron Jones, maybe hope that you can get AJ Dillon or I don't know, maybe Romeo Dobbs or Dontavion Wicks on the free agent wire, because most of the other guys are probably already taken. But I like the Green Bay Packers to win this one. I think I like them to cover. I don't know exactly what the spread is. And yeah, I mean, I like Love. I think that he'll build a little bit more momentum for the Packers. Definitely seems to have that offense in pretty good rhythm. Um, we'll be curious to see how AJ Dillon is basically as their lead back, although they had a standout rookie that actually was looking pretty good in the preseason. So we'll see if he emerges. I can't think of his name, so I apologize for that. For the Raiders, we'll see if Jimmy G can continue to get things going. Their run game has also been inconsistent, so hopefully Josh Jacobs can get things rolling on the ground. And then I also like their other pass catchers. I want to see Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow get involved. So and Michael Mayer, their rookie tight end. So we will see how that develops going over Monday Night Football tonight at 8:15 on ABC, and should also be on ESPN with the Manning cast. So check that out. Peace, love, and happiness. Thoughts and prayers to everyone affected in Israel. It's really, really shameful terror that it even exists, and the acts that were committed. So really, really scary stuff there. A little bit of a reality check, and really makes you grateful that you're in a safe country and you're able to enjoy and appreciate sports on a daily basis. So I felt a little questionable about even recording this, but I'm glad it did. Definitely still need to go move forward and I don't know, hope for the best. And I know that my brothers in arms are being called from the reserves, and hopefully we'll fight for justice and get things going in the right direction. Anyway, Monday Night Football tonight. Get excited. I will have power rankings released later this week, along with reaction videos and other game previews and other stuff. Still working on our schedule and our game picks and all that other fun stuff. But stay tuned for more Shawnee football, and we will see you next time. Go Birds. Peace.